Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host Mike Lepre, here with my co-host Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
Now this is our fifth episode in our 7-part prediction series to kick off the 2020 season, and this episode we'll be talking about the NL Central. This week it's just back to me and Frank here. We'll have Brian on again for our overall prediction series. And what do you say, Frank? We kick it off here how we've been usually doing it with the bottom dwellers of the division, the Pirates.
Sure, that makes sense to me. You want to start or you want me to go?
I'll kick it off if you want.
Go ahead.
So the Pirates are a team similar to we've talked about with the other divisions, similar to the Mariners and the Orioles and all those other teams. They're kind of, I guess you could call a rebuilding team. They're not really going to be all that competitive in this division, and they've got some pieces, and they've got some upcoming players. Some pieces include Gregory Polanco, Josh Bell. These really good players.
Sure.
The closer Keone Kela.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to say his first name, but he's a younger pitcher. He's got some really good stuff. I think he pitched for the Rangers there for a couple of years. He was with the Pirates last year and kind of filled that role late in the season after they had Felipe Vasquez run into his off-field issues, and he stepped into the closer role and really pitched well. And he pitched well most of the year last year, even as a setup man. But yeah, he's definitely a younger reliever that's got some major potential out there in the bullpen.
Yeah, he's filling in some big shoes for Felipe Vasquez. I mean, he was a really good pitcher, but can't say it's unfortunate what happened to him. He kind of did it to himself, but it sucks for baseball that something like that happened. But you got some younger players in here. You got a guy like Adam Frazier at the top of the lineup. You got Brian Reynolds, Colin Moran, I believe is how you say his name.
Yep.
You got Kevin Newman, Jacob Starlings, Gerard Dyson rounding out the lineup. Speedy guy, veteran guy. Similar to the other teams, they've got young guys. They've got guys that are good and are going to have good careers. But you look at the rotation and the bullpen. There's not a lot of depth there. The rotation in particular, you've got Chris Archer at the top. He's had some lean years of late, especially with Pittsburgh. Joe Musgrove, Stephen Brault, Trevor Williams. Mitch Keller's a young guy that I think is they have slated to make the opening day rotation, which for good reason. He seems to be a good pitcher.
Yeah.
Overall, I don't see a whole lot of depth here, but that's typical for a team like this that's trying to build themselves back up. So it's no real surprise there. I don't think this team is going to surprise anyone, but you got a guy like Jamison Taillon who's recovering from Tommy John. He's a real good pitcher. He could really bring a little bit more life to this team if he was there. I don't know. What do you think, Frank?
This team here, there's some talent, but not a lot of major league talent, and I think that really stems from some bad moves in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Trading away Tyler Glasnow and Austin Meadows in the same deal to bring in Chris Archer 2 years ago was one of the worst trades. And I would say it's even got a shot at being one of the worst trades in baseball history. The way that Glasnow looked last year, before his injury, even after the injury, and the way Austin Meadows has played really for the last 2 years. I mean, it was terrible. They were two of Pirates or Pittsburgh's top prospects, and they traded him away for Chris Archer, who he had team control, which is always good, but he was never really a lights out superstar pitcher.
Yeah.
And that was with a team like the Rays, who builds pitching, and now you go to Pittsburgh, and he really hasn't pitched well. And you've seen some of the comments that Glasnow made actually come out. I think it came out today or yesterday. That he mentions kind of the pitching system for Pittsburgh through the minors and how it's not really that great. And you bring a guy who had his best years with the Rays, but they really weren't dominant years. And he goes to Pittsburgh where the system isn't that great for him. He ain't going to get any better. And then you put a team that's not as good around him, it's not going to get any better. They traded a guy like Storm Marte away this year. They got decent return for him. They let Francisco Cervelli go. He was a veteran player. He had some good talent. Of course, he had some injuries. We talked about him last week. But this team here, there's not much here, but there is some. They still have Josh Bell, who's rounding into a superstar in the league. A switch hitter, plays good, first base. He's big.
Oh yeah.
He's thick. He's got big shoulders. He just looks like he's jacked. He just crushed the ball, and not that he's swinging just for the fences either. He drives and runs. He hits the gaps. He's just a big, powerful man.
Oh yeah.
2 years ago, I'll never forget that ball. He hit the center field at the end of the season through the downpour. It was a line drive. It was like 10 feet, 15 feet off the ground. It smoked the fence in center field. I mean, it was just smoked.
Yeah.
I don't know what the exit velocity was, but it had to be one of the hardest balls hit. It
Definitely.
was just smoked. You got guys like Gregory Polanco, who's still young. He's gonna kind of back from shoulder surgery from 2 years ago. Kind of gonna have a full healthy year. He should be able to put some numbers up. You mentioned Brian Reynolds, Kevin Newman, Adam Frazier. They got some pieces here. Colin Moran, Jared Dyson's an older player, but still a veteran player. Some pitching wise, not too much here. Trevor Williams is pretty good. Italian is recovering from surgery, so you really want to get to see him. Joe Musgrove, he's up and down, but he could pitch pretty well at times. Chad Kuhl, he's a decent pitcher. Chris Stratton, Derek Holland, a veteran guy. Lefty, worst case, you can put him out of the bullpen, get you an inning or two, or lefty, can get some lefties out. But I mean, they're not dominant. They don't have no real dominant potential.
No.
Josh Bell and really maybe like Brian Reynolds, who had a really good year last year. So I mean, they got a couple trade pieces. Jared Dyson, he can kind of trade him away. Maybe Archer at this point. Maybe even Gregory Polanco. At this point, it's like either step up or get your worth out of him.
Yeah, I could see it.
Kella, that you mentioned, he could definitely be a trade piece. Stinks for them that Felipe Vasquez has his issues, because at the very least you could have finally traded him, and got 2-3 prospects and really turned this rebuild around pretty quickly. But I mean, it's a great stadium. We were there a couple years ago.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful stadium, and a great sports city that's always ready to win and always winning.
Oh yeah.
But they can't seem to be on the right side of that.
Yeah.
So I guess every city's kind of got their teams that they're always good, and their team that's always bad. And it seems like they're kind of a team that's always bad here.
Yeah.
But hopefully they could turn around soon. And they got some prospects that are going to help. They got guys like Cole Tucker, who's their shortstop, who's going to come up here. He's their shortstop revolution. He'll be up this year at some point. He's a really good player. He played last year. So I think at some point he was up for a little while.
I think so, yeah.
He's going to be he could be a real superstar player. Mitch Keller that you mentioned, he'll probably break the opening day roster or rotation. He's got some real good potential. Big guy, throws pretty hard. Brian Hayes, third base prospect. Charlie Hayes' son, former Yankee, former World Series winner, pretty well balanced player in his career. 14 years, I think he played 14, 15 years. He was a good player, and his son here is a really good defender.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be like a dominant defender.
Yeah.
So that should be exciting for them. And then this guy is a little exciting to me. O'Neal Cruz, another shortstop for them. He's 6'7".
Yeah, big
If he
dude.
came in, he'd be the biggest shortstop in Major League Baseball.
Probably by a little bit, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's huge. And he's got some major potential. He's one of their top prospects. You can kind of move him all over, too. You can move him at second. You can move him, anywhere. But, I mean, the guy's got some talent. Travis Swaggerty. I mean, look at that last name.
Yeah.
I mean, in this day and age, it's a crazy last name to have.
Yeah.
But he's supposed to be pretty good. So, I mean, they got some decent prospects. I mean, nothing real strong. There's no real depth there. But, I mean, Hayes, Keller, Tucker, Cruz, Swaggerty, they're good. There's a couple of good ones right there.
Oh, yeah.
But after that, it really kind of falls off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no real, dominance there. But there's definitely some potential. They definitely need to trade some of these veteran players away and kind of get some more prospects and go sign a free agent here or there, and really help turn this team around and get back into this division, because the division's kind of wide open with the Cubs kind of coming unglued, Cardinals kind of getting older, the Brewers are in a weird spot. The only team that's really on the up and up, consistently on the up and up, is the Reds. So I mean, this is a division that's kind of open, and this is the time to kind of make your move and kind of get back in the hunt for it. So hopefully they can do that soon. So.
Yeah, both Central divisions are kind of similar in that way. They're probably the weaker divisions in baseball, I would say. Both Easts are real good, and both Wests are real good, I would say. Well, I mean, the NL West, we'll get to that next week, but that's a whole different story. But
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's too much to say here currently about the Pirates. I believe Brian Hayes and O'Neal Cruz are guys to look out for within the next year or two. I think they're pretty close. I think they're both top 30 guys, I think. Somewhere in the, they're
I know they're top 100. That's
100%,
sure.
yeah.
And I would say they're probably top 50, maybe top 60, but still they're higher end guys. But after that, there's not really too much there. I mean, Mitch Keller, obviously, and Cole Tucker.
Yeah, they got guys that are here now, which is good.
So, I mean, they definitely got a little core four kind of going, and then you got Josh Bell. There's nothing there that really gets you really off your feet yet.
Yeah.
But it easily could be.
Yeah, not
but
yet.
It's going to take a little bit of help and an ounce of luck, and all of a sudden they can really have a core set of guys and making a run for things. So.
Well, yeah, you figure. I mean, you look at it. You got Josh Bell over at first. You got Adam Frazier at second. He's a good player. And then if K. Brian Hayes and O'Neal Cruz come up, there's your third baseman and your shortstop. You got a nice little infield
Cole
there.
Tucker.
Yeah, you got a nice little infield there.
And you have your ace and Mitch Keller. You're hoping, and Trevor Williams is a quality player.
Jamison Tyon. I mean,
Jamison Tyon. Polanco. Hopefully, could turn around. He's still younger. And then Brian Reynolds had a really good year.
Yeah, he's great in the outfield.
So,
I mean,
there's things there, but it's a lot of there's things there, and they need to grow into that. And it's hard for 5 or 6 guys to all kind of grow into that. But they can hit two of these guys become really good, and then 2 of them become pretty good. There you go.
Yeah, you'll take it.
You're on your way, and then a free agent, and boom, you're in the playoffs, and you're giving it a ride.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, that's we were there a couple years ago. That's a great stadium.
Yeah,
that is a really nice stadium.
Oh yeah.
And it's a really cool city. So you hope for them.
Yeah, and the stadium can get loud. I mean, just ask Johnny Cueto. I mean,
yeah. I mean, not that a lot of people want to keep seeing Pittsburgh because of the 2 teams that have been winning there, but I think a lot of people want to see the baseball fans of Pittsburgh get some things to go their way for once. Because, like I said, beautiful stadium. Definitely up towards the top, and the ones in the league, I would say, and definitely towards the top, maybe even top 3 that we visited.
Yeah, I agree.
In our journeys. But I think that's pretty much it for me. Talk about the Pirates. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, nothing really. I mean, I think we pretty much covered them. What do you say? We move on to the Brewers next?
Yeah, I think we can go on to the Brewers. I mean, this is like a division like last week with the NL East, where you can kind of flip-flop 3 or 4 teams here in this division. But if I had to take a guess and say which team I think has a little bit better chance or higher chance to get 4th, I would say the Brewers is probably your pick.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the team's pretty good. It does have some talent.
Definitely.
There's no pitching.
No.
Really, on either pitcher, they got relief. They got 1, 2 guys really. But other than that, I mean, starting pitching, there's not much there. But the lineup's good. The lineup is pretty good. They got some talent there. I mean, obviously you got Yelich. He just signed a massive contract extension. You got Ryan Braun still hanging around. Lorenzo Cain, he should have a better year. He had a thumb injury that he dealt with all year last year, which really wasn't known too much until like second half of the year that he had it pretty much from spring training. Might be why his numbers were kind of down a little bit. Orlando Arcia, he kind of had kind of turned it around a little bit last year. Kind of figured some things out at some points. Big free agent signing Omar Narvaez. He was one of the better catchers last year. Offensively, he really was.
Yeah, he was great.
He played a lot, and he put up some really good numbers. He was like 280s, hitting home runs. Defensively, he was well-rounded defensively. So he really put up some good numbers. That's going to help them. You lost Yasmani Grandal, which hurts, but you get this guy. So it's like, all right, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
You really didn't lose too much, really. And you might have even gained. I mean, Grandal's one of the better catchers in baseball, but Narvaez, if he puts up a year like he had last year, I mean, it's hard to say they lost anything.
Yeah, the argument can be made.
Sure. I mean, he had a really good year. I had him on my fantasy team last year, so I kind of watched him all year. So I kind of know his numbers. He was right there, always hitting home runs, always playing. He played really well.
Yeah.
For a team that wasn't very good. And a stadium that was pretty big, Seattle.
Yeah.
Now you go to Milwaukee with the bang box with a better lineup.
Yeah.
You got something. Might even get a little bit more stats out of them.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
They got guys like Justin Smoke, switch hitter with some power. He definitely could put up some numbers. He can't hurt. Kind of going to fill Eric Thames' spot. He's kind of a similar player, I really think. It's probably you lose Thames, you get Smoke. You're like, okay, at least he's a switch hitter. They do have Josh Hader, one of the better relievers in baseball, but as much as they use him, he's going to get beat up, he's going to get hurt, and he's going to have some bad outings at times. Like you seen last year, he stretches where he wasn't very good because he used him so much.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the only one they got, really. You got Corey Nebel coming back. From Tommy John, so you don't really know what you're going to get. He wasn't real consistent before. His Tommy John, he had like one Maybe you have 1 year that was really good, a year before that was pretty good, and then Tommy Johns, you don't know if you're going to get the same guy back. Alex Claudio, he's a decent reliever. Adonis Garcia, he's really one of their better players in this team. He hits 300 everywhere he goes. White Sox, he was 300. The Rays, he was 300. He hits home runs. Outfield, he's all right. Nothing special out there, but he's average, does his job, but he hits. He really can hit. So that's a big piece for them. Brock Holt, it's good for them to get. Plays everywhere. Good, morale guy. Eric Sogard's very similar to Brock Holt. Same, morale, kind of play everywhere. Good pieces. Jed Jerko was a good get. Pitching wise, they have Brent Sutter, a younger guy. He's okay. Nothing real special. Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff's probably their ace. He's pretty good. He's their ace, and he's really a pretty good pitcher.
Oh yeah.
But after that, like I said, I just mentioned Freddie Peralta. They got Eric Lauer. He's pretty good. Brett Anderson, veteran guy. But there's nothing really here that's like, all right, this is their pitching. This is all right. They got a couple pieces, and then all right, they'll figure out the rest. It's like they got like one, maybe two pieces, and it's a lot to figure out in a stadium that's kind of hard to pitch in. So you kind of have to have good pitching, but they don't really have that. Hitting wise, like I said, though, they really do have a good lineup. Ryan Healy is there. They can hit the ball.
Oh, 100%.
But they got to be able to pitch, and I just don't see it. Adrian Hauser, David Phelps, Josh Lindblom. Some of these guys can have better years than they've had, or can step up or break out or whatever. But you're asking for 4 or 5 pitchers to break out in the same year. You kind of had that 2 years ago. You see what they did with it. But what's the odds of you doing it again? It's really hard. It's really hard for pitchers to break out, and a bunch of them the same year. So I don't really know where they can go. They can hit their way to some wins, but unless they make some real big moves to get I think you're going to need one real good starting pitcher, probably another pretty good starting pitcher, and then I would say you're going to need at least one pretty good reliever before you're going to be really competing for anything here. But, they do have some prospects they could be calling up at some point this year. Bryce Terang, he's a middle infielder. He's pretty good. Tristan Lutz, outfielder. He's got some talent. Zach Brown, he's a pitcher. I think he's a lefty for them. You never know with the way the year goes. You might see him this year. He might be someone that can help either way, bullpen or a mid-rotation guy. Corey Ray, another outfielder. Ethan Small, another pitcher. But there's not a ton of prospects there. I think there's like 1, maybe 2 top 100 guys. I think they're one that you could say is top 100. I think he's like 50, 60, 70. I don't even know if he's even that high. I think he might be like 70 range.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really there that you can attract somebody in a trade to get these big pieces, or really expect them to break out and really shine and take the next level. It's a weird team because they have some players that you like, and you kind of like them. You kind of want them to be pretty good, but you don't see the improvements pitching wise that can make them get to that point. So it's like they're kind of stuck there. I don't know. What do you think with the Brewers?
I'm kind of on the same page as you here. The pitching, like you said, leaves a lot to be desired. Brandon Woodruff at the top's good. I like that. But after that, it almost falls off a cliff. Not that these guys are bad pitchers. It's just that there's not a whole heck of a lot of dominance there. Like if I'm coming into Milwaukee and I'm facing Brett Anderson or Adrian Hauser or one of these guys, I'm not super intimidated. I'm coming in feeling all right, So the rotation really to me isn't that intimidating. Josh Hader at the back end of the bullpen is going to be a problem for other teams. He's a great pitcher, but then you got to get to him. You got to get to him, especially with setup men. So like you said, if you add a really good setup guy or 2 setup guys, you got something going there in the 7th, 8th, and 9th with them. The lineup, like you said, is killer. You got Christian Yelich in the middle of the lineup. He's been fantastic.
Or top.
Yeah,
wherever you're going to hit him.
Yeah, wherever you want him.
You just got to hope that his back holds up a little bit.
Yeah.
He had some back injuries last year, and then he had that was like a freak injury. I think he broke a bone in his leg. Wasn't that how he ended his year last year?
Yeah, he fouled the ball off his leg, and there's nothing
I
you
think
can
that
do
should
about
be
that.
okay, but he did have some back injuries last year, kind of throughout the year. He missed like a week here, week there. So you hope he kind of holds up, but he's top 5 player in baseball.
Yeah, he's tremendous.
Defensively, offensively, he's a great guy. He really as young as he is, he's kind of a veteran because he came up with the Marlins at like a 20-year-old, 21-year-old. So he's kind of think he was like 20 when he came up, so he's kind of been in the league for like what 5-6 years already.
Gotta be.
And he's only 26, 27. I don't think he's he's still young, but he's kind of been around, so he could definitely be a shining light for them. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know where they're going to get better.
Mm.
I don't know. I know where they're going to get better. Where they need to get better. I just don't know how they're going to really get there. So
yeah.
It's
no, I hear you.
I don't know. I don't know what to say with them.
Yeah. Well, I think that this team has some heart. Is what I'm seeing. Some players here that got, like you said, morale guys like Eric Sogard, and I think that they can muster some sort of. They could be a problem in the division. I don't think that they're a bad team by any stretch of that. And fourth, we're not saying fourth like they're a bad team. They're a good team. It's just that they're not. There's not a lot about this team that really wows me. No. I think that, like we've said, the lineup is good, and the lineup's going to win them some games. But, I mean, pitching wins ball games, and they don't seem to really have all that much depth there. So, I mean, the Brewers are looking, I think, third, fourth, somewhere in that ballpark. I think that they could make a run and maybe get up and cause some problems, but I don't think that they're really going to, eclipse into the wild card spot. I don't think they'll get that high. But
I don't think so.
I mean, the Brewers are all right. I like the team. I hope the best for them, but I think that they'll probably fall towards the bottom of the division.
Yeah, I just they're one of the few teams where you just don't really know. You kind of don't really know where to put them or what to say about them. You kind of lose words with them because there's pieces you like and there's a lot of things you don't like. So it's just like that weird area. You never really know. They definitely have some talent to make some runs, but I don't know if there's enough pitching or relief there to really sustain a run.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, if there's anything to say about them, there are a few pieces away. I guess,
Definitely.
So there's something there.
And Craig Counsell has really done a great job out there.
He's
been
great.
able to find extra wins. So if he could find some extra wins and keep the team chemistry high and morale high, you never know. But I think their best bet or their highest potential is maybe a wild card spot.
Yeah.
Maybe get to the NLDS, but I don't really see it.
No, neither do I.
So, you have anything else to say about the Brewers or?
No, I think we've pretty much said our piece with them. Who do you want to move on to next?
I think the next team that we could talk about probably be the Cubs.
Yep.
And they're in a weird spot too.
Yeah, they're a little closer, I'd say, than the Brewers. I would say, but yeah, similar spot.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely similar with the lineup. They both have power, firepower in the lineup. I think the Cubs have a little bit more pitching, which is going to help them a little bit. But I don't know, another team that's kind of in that weird gray area, especially with the rumors coming around from the Chicago Cubs there, and especially with the White Sox across town kind of doing a thing. It's like the Cubs are kind of falling out of favor right now, which is weird because it happened quick, especially after their the run broke that World Series curse. Everyone was high on the Cubs, but that kind of fairy tale kind of ended quickly. But do you wanna jump into their lineup a little bit in their team? More?
Yeah. I like their lineup a lot. I think that there's a lot of young guys to really like here. I mean, Chris Bryant at the top of the lineup, which is weird to say. You got Anthony Rizzo. He seems to be a fan favorite. He's a great player. Javier Baez, people love. He's one of the most recognizable faces in baseball. Great player. Kyle Schwarber, big power bat. He's a great player. Wilson Contreras, a great catcher. He's good in the lineup. Jason Hayward, he's a good player. He had a lot of potential there. I don't think the potential got fully realized, but he's a solid player. Jason Kipnis, they picked up playing over at second base. He's another guy that I feel like never really hit his top potential. But, I mean, he's a guy that it's a nice pickup over there at second. And then you got guys like in the outfield like Ian Happ, Steven Souza, Albert Almora, kind of these interchangeable guys. So the lineup's solid. I definitely think that lineup is good. And then, you start to fall in some problems with the pitching, similar again to the Brewers, where the bullpen's not really all that. You got Craig Kimbrell in the back, who if he's on, he's dominant. I mean,
he's one of the best relievers in baseball, and he has been. His whole career.
Yeah. So, you give him a full year here. He kind of had he had quite a rough year last year, but, he kind of had half a year. It was hard for him to really get anything going. So I think if you give him a full year here, have him bear down in Chicago, I think that he'll have a good year. So he's someone to watch. And then, with the starting rotation, I think that they've got good pieces, but I think that they're no one in the rotation is really like dominant ace quality. Yeah, I think you've got all kind of solid 2s and 3s strung about in the rotation. You got Yu Darvish, good pitcher. Kyle Hendricks is probably their most consistent starter. Jose Quintana, he always hovers around 3, closer to 4 ERA.
Yeah.
John Lester's veteran guy. He's getting a little older. He was a really good pitcher, but I think that his best days are probably behind him. Tyler Chatwood rounding out the rotation. I mean, the rotation's wishy-washy with me. I'm not super intimidated. I don't think there's anyone that's really they're going to put on the mound that I'm really going to fear if I'm the opposing lineup. And like I said, with the bullpen, there's no one really out there that is really super intimidating to me other than Craig Kimbrell. Similar again to the Brewers. You got to get someone to get to Craig Kimbrell. Someone to get to Josh Hader with the Brewers. They're stuck in that realm.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Cubs have a little bit more pieces in the bullpen to get there.
Yeah.
Jeremy Jeffries from the Brewers.
Yeah, ironically.
Kind of started last year hurt and kind of a little slow, but he definitely got some good stuff. Some potential there. Dan Winkler pitched well at the Braves 2 years ago. They got guys. I really think Tyler Chatwood probably should be in the bullpen just because he's so wild. It's a little bit easier to be wild for an inning or two instead of pitching 5 innings. And he could throw hard as a reliever. So I think he'd probably be better suited for the bullpen. So you might see that jump this year. They obviously mentioned Kimbrel. So I mean, I think they have a little bit more pieces bullpen wise. Than Brewers. Starting pitching wise, they have a little more names there.
Yeah.
People that can you kind of can rely on a little bit. You kind of know what you're going to get. If they pitch well or turn back the clock a little bit, they could be pretty good.
Yeah.
If they kind of stay where they're going, they're going to struggle a little bit. But like a little more consistency. Like Quintana, you said, he's really like a high 3, a 4.0 kind of guy. Eats innings, six innings. He gives up 4 or 5 runs. Doesn't really get blown up too much. He'll give you them 7 innings, 1-run games. Lester had a bad year last year for his standards. Got beat up. He's only getting older.
Yeah.
Guy never really had velocity, so you really got to pinpoint everything. Kyle Hendricks, Poor Man's Greg Maddux.
Yeah.
He's a good pitcher, but he's seen 2 years ago with him too. He kind of was up over 4 ERA. He can get beat up, but he's really got to spot his pitches too. There's no velocity there. It's 88 miles per hour, but he's really a good pitcher and a really good fielding pitcher too. To round out their rotation, I mean, Yu Darvish, second half of last year, he pitched well. He kind of lowered his walks and he's got some nasty stuff. So if he can kind of keep that and he can kind of turn into that ace for the Cubs, then they got something. You got that one guy that could really win you, every fifth time out there, he's winning you a game. And then if these other starters could pull off a couple wins, they got something. They're going to have to hit their way there. They have to hit, Chris Bryant, if he's going to stay there. There's trade rumors there, so there's a chance he might not be there for the whole year. Rizzo, Baez, Wilson Contreras, Schwarber never really has a spot because he can't really play the outfield, but he can hit.
Yeah.
So he's kind of needs to get traded to the AL or hope that they put the NLDH in next year.
Yeah.
You got guys like Jason Hayward, who's played well recently. Albert Almora, Souza. That was a good ad for them if he could kind of stay healthy. Ian Happ, younger player. David Bodie.
Yeah.
He's a good utility player. I mean, there's definitely pieces here. Daniel Descalso, he's a nice veteran guy, kind of play everywhere, jump all over the place. I think it's Ryan Tepera, bullpen guy. He's kind of been around the league a little bit. Nothing real special, middle of the relief kind of guy. But there is a guy that I do like to look at out there when I was looking through the team and kind of keeping an eye on. Jarrell Cotton. If you remember him, he was with the A's a couple years ago. He pitched really well. I think we went and watched live him pitch against the Yankees.
Yeah, I think you're right.
2 years ago, and he pitched really well. He had Tommy John, kind of fought his way through that a little bit. He's still a younger player, but he's a guy I think that's got some potential. And
I agree.
He could really be kind of fill that fifth starting spot for them. At worst case, he could be out in the bullpen. But I think he's a guy that's got some potential for them, and that could really help kind of get that team go in the right direction. But with the way you hear some of these rumors with the team and, signing guys kind of run out of money, you had your issues with Addison Russell. He's not there no more, but you had your issues there.
Yeah.
You lose a guy like Zobrist. You lost your manager, Joe Madden.
That's a big loss.
There's pieces there that are falling apart. And with Chris Bryant kind of with the rumors and some of the comments and, there's some question marks there. David Ross, the new manager, a lot of these guys played with him, which is a good thing, but they played with him, which is not a good thing. Did they respect him as a manager? They respect him more as a play, when he was a player.
Yeah.
Can he be tough on these guys? I don't. There's a big weird thing going on over there with the Cubs. Do they trade people away to make a run again? Do they trade prospects away to make a run? Do they trade people away to kind of build up again? So they're in that weird gray area, and I'm just not sure really about them. They definitely could be good. They definitely could win a division.
I agree.
I think they could win a division. I think they definitely have a long road to get there. But they can't win it. But it's gonna take some real breakout seasons and a little bit of luck, and maybe a trade piece to come in or something. But I don't really see it. Their prospects. I mean, they got guys like Nico Horner. He's a young guy who you'll probably see him at some point this year. He's a shortstop or middle infielder. They got Braylon Marquez, pitcher. Adbert Alozoye. I'm not quite sure how to say any of his name, but he's a good pitcher. They got a guy like Miguel Amaya, Brennan Davis. They're both good young position players, but there's not a great stack of prospects like it was years ago. Trading for these pieces every year. Nick Castellanos last year and trading for some other pieces throughout the years. They kind of depleted their prospect field to get what they got that one year and they won the World Series. Hopefully, your goal is always to win that World Series when trading prospects away, and they did that. But obviously, you kind of want to win too, especially when you're trading away guys like Lepre Torres in the past and some big name guys like that. I mean, but they won their one. They did what they needed to do. They broke that curse. They've had good teams. They're in that gray area now. Did they get rid of a couple of these guys? Did they keep them and see what you could do with them? So I don't know. They're similar to Brewers. You kind of have a little bit of loss of words. I just think that the Cubs' path is kind of a little bit more there, a little more filled out with some of these pitchers. But they could easily have a hard year and be under 500. I think for the most part they're good. I think I'll put them under 500 to be honest. But you don't really know. There's definitely enough talent there to fight their way into maybe a wild card. But it's a lot of question marks and. It's tough. I think it's tough to be a Cubs, especially with the White Sox kind of stealing the light now.
Yeah, you got those crosstown rivals over there. They're just getting better, and the Cubs seem to be on a little bit of a downslide here. But like you said, they broke that streak. They got the World Series. Nothing to be sad about there. They I'm sure they partied like it was. They still partied like hell. Yeah, they're still partying about it. So nothing. They still got the pieces from that World Series team. So there's still the pieces there, and. Like you said, they could just as easily win the division. They could just as easily get a wild card spot. This team's got a lot of heart. I could see it, but I could just as easily see them just slotting in at third or fourth and just kind of having a mediocre year and just kind of.
I think them and the Brewers are very close.
Yeah, they're very similar.
Very close teams, but you don't never know. Both teams could make a wild card. Both teams can be 500. I think you better chance of being 500, but there's definitely talent on both of these teams.
Yeah,
and for the Cubs, I think that's pretty much all I have for them. I don't know if you have anything else you want to talk about with the Cubs, but
no, I always got a soft spot in my heart for the Cubbies. So I would like to see them be good, but I mean I think they're a little bit on the decline here.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And you know what? I always kind of liked them in years past. Alfonso Soriano, one of my favorite players, Derek Lee, Ramos Ramirez, those teams, Crazy Zambrano, teams like that. I always kind of liked. They had Lou Piniella as the manager, so those teams I always liked. So I kind of always liked the Cubs, and they were bad. So like Castro, big fan of his. So I always kind of liked them, rooted for them. They won their World Series, and at that point I was like, all right, cool, they got their World Series. But after that, there was a few players on that team that not that I didn't like them. I just was like, I'm not a big fan of those, especially Addison Russell, and not for just his what he did off the field. I could never see why they justify keeping Addison Russell over Sterling Castro. Tell me that Russell was going to be a better player. Defensively, Russell's probably better at shortstop, but you could easily put Castro at second and third, and he's a better defender. But offensively, Castro was definitely better than Russell.
100%.
And I was always a Castro guy, so I could never really liked him too much. Wilson Contreras, he just rubs me the wrong way too. I don't know.
Well, they got that flaunt. They really pimp. Javier Baez is probably like the king of flaunt. You see how he tags out guys when at second base when they catch someone stealing. I mean, he's really like, he lets you know, it's this new age of baseball kind of showing off, and he's kind of almost like the ringleader of it.
Yeah.
On the field at least it seems.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple guys there that I don't really like too much. I'm not a big Lester guy. I don't really get into it too much why, but I'm not a big Lester guy. Like I said, wasn't a big Russell guy. Chris Bryant. There's not many guys where I'm like, really excited. Like, oh yeah, I really like him. I do like Kimbrel.
Yeah.
And Hendricks, I do like. There's guys over there that I do like, but it's not a team. After they got their World Series, I was kind of like, all right, now I'm kind of done with them. I'm kind of done rooting for them, especially because there's some other teams in that division that I definitely like a little bit more for sure than them. And that's pretty much all I got for the Cubs.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, we got some other teams here. So what do you think we move on? Now, we had to really decide on these next two teams or where they're going to be because we like both of these teams a lot. And one of the teams improved a lot this offseason. So why don't we talk about the Reds first? Because they improved a mighty bit here.
Yeah, if I would say every division so far, we've had like that one team that we kind of talk about a lot and highly of. This division, there might be two.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the team that we're probably going to talk about the most is probably the Reds.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is a team who quickly turned things around, found some good pieces, found some diamonds in the rough, but struck on some of their high picks and some of their trades. And this team here they're good. They're good.
Oh yeah.
They're young. They're fast. They can pitch. They're all around. They got some depth. I mean, this team's their core is Votto still. He's been there the longest. He's been a really good player. Last year he had a down year, but this year I think he's a bounce back candidate. You'll probably see him right back at 300. I wouldn't say you're going to see a bunch of home runs, as he had a couple years where he did hit a bunch of home runs, but he'll be in the 15 area, maybe 20. But I think you'll probably be more than 15 area. But I think he'll be back at 300. And first base, I think last year's defense was down a little bit, but I think that was because all around he was hitting bad, and he felt like he was letting the team down. So I think this year he's going to bounce back hitting wise, which is going to make his fielding bounce back a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So he's definitely a great player and a great character in baseball.
Yeah, gotta love Joey Votto.
Of course, yeah. Nick Castellanos was a big signing.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great year last year. He
Oh
had
yeah,
a million doubles.
Yeah, doubles
A
machine.
lot of power. Proved that he could play in the outfield, especially in a big outfield like Detroit and Chicago. He could prove that he could hit down the stretch when you needed him to hit. Definitely put up some numbers there down the stretch. Suarez, I mean, he had a great year. He was crushing the ball. Third base, he's a very good third baseman.
Mm-hmm.
Moustakas, I think that's an underrated guy. Every year he's underrated. Every year teams sign him, and he just does, puts up 250, 260, 270. He hits home runs, drives in runs, plays good defense. Last year he played second base. Gives him a little bit more versatility. I mean, the guy plays through injuries. He's a really good player. And every year everyone's like, where's he going to go? Not really talking about him, but he's a really good player.
Yeah, he can't seem to find a home.
Yeah, puts up good numbers. Nick Senzel, he was one of their top prospects, if not their top prospect last year or 2 years ago. And he had a really good year last year. 250s, 260s. Fought through a lot of injuries, but hit some home runs, steal some bases. Learned how to play a really well center field, so he can keep developing. Trevor Bauer, big trade. He's quite the character. He's always got a bunch of stuff to say, but sometimes it's good, outspoken guy. Sometimes it's a little crazy, but he's a really good player. Luis Castillo, another pitcher that's really dominant.
Yeah.
He's got some really nasty pitches. Could really go deep into games. He really, not that they're real similar, but I always kind of put him and Jose Barrios kind of together. They always kind of reminded me of each other, even though they're not really the same pitcher, but they have a couple things similar, but they were always like that. The same level, that same tier, like they're both going to kind of get good at the same time. I don't know. I always kind of felt that way with them.
Yeah, I hear you.
Rafael Iglesias, out in the bullpen. He's had some good years. Last year struggled a little bit. But, I mean, he always comes up with 30-something saves. He's got some really nasty stuff. He really goes like 2 innings at times, too. 5 outs, 6 outs, 4 outs. He's always getting an extra out. He's not just that 1-inning guy, which is good. Amir Garrett, he's a big lefty. Throws the ball hard. Pitched well last year. Obviously, got in that huge fight last year with the Pirates where he's punching everyone in sight. And good for him, because I don't know about you, but when you're a team like the Pirates, it's hard to sit there and trash talk and always being saying stuff. They're always saying stuff in that dugout, which was surprising. Like Clint Hurdle, their former manager, always seemed like he had them talking for a team that was not good. So when they kept talking and talking and talking, and he was like, fine, I'm going to just go over there, I'm just going to punch you. I liked it. I was like, keep your mouth shut. You're no good. I'm not listening to it. And he, obviously, you go watch the video. He was punching everybody, knocking guys down, and he's big.
Yeah.
That's a big guy.
Yeah.
So he comes running at your dugout. I'm putting a helmet on and getting the hell out of there. But some of them guys went out there like, I'm going to fight, and he was like, knocked 3 guys down in 1 punch. So that's a crazy guy. So imagine him on the mound.
Yeah, I know.
You know what he could do, and what he doesn't care. He'll do it.
Yeah.
So now with a ball in his hand, who knows? But he's really, really a quality relief pitcher. Sonny Gray, turnaround year, as you kind of predicted.
Yeah.
Once he got to New York out of that small stadium and the style of pitching they wanted, he get back to just pitching. He's really put up a really good year. Descafani, he had a good year last year after starting the year injured. He put up some good numbers. He's a younger player. Definitely a depth piece over there for the rotation. Then they signed Shogo Ikeyama.
Okay, yeah.
He's a guy from Japan or Korea. Not quite sure. I don't really remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
But big signing for them. Good piece. He's gonna be a big piece of their this year. Aristis Aquino.
Aristis Aquino?
Yeah, some of these names are ridiculous here, but he was a good player. He put up some really good numbers, and he went crazy there for a while.
Yeah, he burst onto the scene.
Yeah, he struck out a lot too.
Oh, yeah.
Started fading right towards the end of the year, but he put up some crazy numbers for a while there. He's a real talented guy. They got guys like Pedro Strop, Wade Miley, good veteran pieces. Freddie Galvis. Another guy no one really talks about. He always puts up good years. He was hovering right around 300 last year.
Yeah.
Plays second, plays short, plays good, really good, infielder. So he has a good piece. Michael Lorenzen, sorry. Outfielder at times, pinch hitter at times, pinch runner. Really a pretty well relief pitcher, 2-inning kind of guy. So, it's good to have like a two-way player, especially in the NL.
Yeah.
Kind of do a little bit of everything. Scott Schebler.
Mm-hmm.
He decent depth piece, Jesse Winkler, another piece who plays pretty well. You could put him in, really all 3 outfield spots. Tucker Barnhart, solid catcher for them. Really does a great job behind the plate and puts up some decent numbers. Really a solid catcher. Nothing to sneeze at, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Tyler Mahle, he's like a bottom rotation guy, but he puts up decent numbers, a lot of quality starts, eats the innings, just the kind of guy you need at the bottom of the rotation. If something happens, you can throw him out in the bullpen. He's at that that spot for them, and he's quietly had a pretty good year last year. A lot of quality starts, a lot of 6 innings, 3 runs, 5 innings, 2 runs, or not 5 innings, 2 runs isn't a quality start, but still kind of quality start. He keeps you in the games. He's that type of pitcher. You get guys like Matt Bowman out in the bullpen, a younger guy, came from the Cardinals organization. He might be able to step up a little bit and be another piece in the bullpen. Robert Stevenson, another guy you'll probably see out in the bullpen. So, they got pieces here. Philip Irvin.
Yeah.
He's a good player in the outfield. They got a lot of good pieces here. They're another one, though. They have some of these prospects or some of these young guys kind of have to step up, take the next step. But they got a couple guys there that are going to hit. And they're going to produce. Suarez. Votto has to, is going to be better. Moustakas. There's guys like that are Castellanos. They're good. They're really good players. So if some of these young guys like Senzel could step up a little bit, they got a really good chance. I think this is a team here that could easily win this division.
Yeah.
They could be 500. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they easily win this division.
Yeah.
And I really think they can make a little bit of a push in the playoffs. I think this is a team that can sneak their way to the NLCS. I really think they can. And as they've seen in the last year or so, they're not afraid to make a move.
No,
certainly they're not afraid to trade for a big piece that they need or make a free agent splash, as we've seen. So their prospects are a little bit deeper than some of these other teams, so they could do some of that. So maybe add a piece here or there, and they could definitely make a run and get to a deeper part of the playoffs. They're definitely a good, exciting young team.
Yeah.
What do you got to say here about the Reds?
I mean, you really said it with the rotation and the lineup, and there's a lot of depth here. I think that first of all, you've got a pretty slamming rotate. You've got a pretty good lineup. Joey Votto, Eugenio Suarez, Mike Moustakas, Nick Castellanos. I mean, these guys are really good. And then you've got depth. You got Jesse Winkler, Freddie Galvis, Tucker Barnhart. You've got options off the bench. You got Phillip Ervin, Josh Van Meter, Kirk Casale as like a backup catcher, Derek Dietrich. I mean, the really deep bench and lineup. So I like that a lot. The rotation, the top three guys, because if you're looking at a playoff rotation, top three guys, you got Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, and Trevor Bauer. And then you got DeSclafani, who was, when they were not really that great a few years ago, he was kind of their ace. He was, he's a good pitcher. And Wade Miley's, he had his struggles, but he's a good pitcher too. So if you're looking at even just a pure playoff perspective there, they've got three guys there that are going to be pretty intimidating in the playoffs. So you got top three guys. And then out of the bullpen, like you said, Raisel Iglesias. He's got nasty stuff. He's a constant there. He's going to be consistent. I think that you'll see another good year out of him. Michael Lorenzen, like you said, a kind of two-way player. It's nice to have in the NL.
Definitely.
And then I didn't even bring it up, like you said before, Nick Senzel and Aristides Aquino. I mean, Nick Senzel was great. He kind of battled some injuries, but he gets healthy. He's going to find his way into the lineup for sure.
Oh yeah.
Aristides Aquino, I mean, he really made some waves in the league. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what he's really made of this year, because it's kind of hard. He hit like 25 home runs or somewhere in that ballpark.
At least you could say his name, because I can't. And then the other guy too, the guy they got from Japan, they signed. That guy could be a real breakout guy.
Yeah.
We don't really know, because some of these guys have really been dominant at Japan, and some of these guys kind of been okay. But if he can come over and be like an all-star type of player, I mean, this team's got just crazy depth, and there's a lot of guys here that know the role. Dietrich kind of knows his role. These guys know their role, which is really, really, really big in baseball, in any sport, to know your role, and they do. I think, David Bell, the manager, I think he's going to make a real push for NL Manager of the Year this year. I really think he is. This team is kind of turned the corner, and they're a young, exciting team.
Yeah,
they really are. And they got a couple. They got some prospects I like to talk about a little bit. Hunter Green, obviously, is like their top prospect, one of the higher prospects in baseball. He could really throw the ball. They got guys like Nick Lodolo, another pitcher. Jonathan India, right? India, however he pronounces it, another pitcher. I mean, they got a lot of pitching prospects here. Tony Santillan, Tyler Stevenson's a catching prospect who we might see this year at some point. If they can get some real turn catcher into, I mean, not that Barnhart's not good. Like I said, he's really a quality player. He can also play a little bit of first base. But if they can hit on one of these catching prospects and turn catcher from a lower batting average or lower spot in the order and just an average spot, and they can get that prospect to really produce and come up, I mean, that rounds out the lineup to an unbelievable point.
Yeah.
And that makes maybe even Barnhart expandable in trade.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they got some pieces here. I mean, they got decent depth prospect wise, and they got some guys on the major league roster who they could trade away that have potential. So I mean, they could definitely go make a move here or there. Get a pitcher, get a reliever, even get a starter. I think offensively they're kind of set. You never know. They could make a move. Someone gets hurt. But I think mostly you'll see them maybe make a move, maybe starting pitching. Definitely see it. I would say you probably could see them make a move relief wise.
Yeah.
We always throw out a couple names, but I mean, Edwin Diaz for the Mets or Brad Hand or guys like that can make a big move for, and that could really put them over the edge and give them the next step. And I can see a guy they could go trade for cheap, kind of, and I can kind of see him pitching for the Reds. Wade Davis, another guy we kind of mentioned some of these teams can take a chance on because last year struggled. But there's guys out there that they could really jump on, really help set this team up and kind of make a push for a playoff run.
Yeah.
So this is definitely an exciting team. I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about them. I mean, I know you have a few things you want to mention here because they're a really exciting team and I like them.
Yeah, I like this team a lot.
And I tell you one thing, that's my favorite stadium.
Yeah, oh man, Great American Ballpark's awesome.
That's my favorite stadium I've been to, and we've been to 8 or 9 stadiums. I think it was 8 so far. That's the nicest one.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Great American Building behind it. You got the river right there. I mean, it's an awesome stadium.
Unbelievable environment. Just surrounding the stadium is a great feel.
Yeah.
The stadium itself is beautiful. It's just there's something about it.
Yeah,
you know?
Cincinnati is like baseball. You know, it's kind of like the team we're going to talk about next, but it's like a baseball city. And that stadium's awesome. That's my number one stadium. Pittsburgh's definitely up there too. They're probably they're definitely on my top 5, and I maybe even top 3. But Cincinnati's number 1 that I've been to so far. It's awesome stadium. It really is. So
Yeah.
you ever get a chance, go out there and see a game there. It's awesome.
Yeah,
We've seen a
100%.
Reds-Cubs game, so we really got
Yeah, we got a show.
a show there. That was a good rivalry, but I mean that stadium's awesome. I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, I agree. I really like this team, and for my money, I mean, the MLB hasn't predicted to win the division. So, I mean, we have our issues with that whole prediction set by them. But, but I think that it's something they got right there. They were a little reserved with the predictions. No teams really in the division had all that many wins, which I think is a little rough on them. But for my money, I think this is your division-winning team. But, I mean, the next team we're talking about here, the Cardinals, I mean, man, it's going to be competitive for that. I think that they're both going to make the playoffs. I think that at worst here, the Reds are going to probably get a wild card, I would think. So a lot to like here. And if there's anything else, I mean, let's move on to the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I think the Cardinals are they're kind of similar. They're kind of similar in certain aspects, but they're built a little different. The Reds are a little bit built more younger, kind of up and coming, but the Cardinals are still kind of built the same way, but they're more veteran led. But they're same kind of a little bit of openings, but definitely could see them get hot and really make a run. I think the Cardinals have a better chance of winning the division just because they always find talent. They always find wins.
Oh, yeah.
They always, push 90 wins or always, making runs, especially late in the season. A couple guys get hot and all of a sudden they're winning 10 games in a row. I mean, they're just a really great franchise. Or they'll be one of the top franchises in baseball and even in sports. They always do the right thing. They always have great prospects. They always find talent. They always build within, and they're a really good team. And they got some really good players, good veteran-led team. They got guys like Molina, who's still probably top 3 catcher.
Gotta be.
Maybe
At
top
least,
5.
At least top 5.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
Defensively, I think he's probably the best defensive catcher of all time. I can't see. I mean,
put him up there with
he's
Pudge,
dominant. He's unbelievable. He still hits. Guys like Goldschmidt.
Yeah,
I mean, he. I guess you could say he had a down year last year.
For him.
and if he turns it on a little bit, I mean, he could have a MVP year. Colton Wong really stepping it up recently. Another bounce back candidate, and Matt Carpenter. Dexter Fowler kind of found his role out there. He's been playing a little bit better. Paul DeJong, one of the better shortstops defensively, really good, and hits a bunch of home runs. If he can just get his average up a little bit. Great double play duo there. Jack Flaherty, I mean, kind of year he had last year. Second half was really had a shot at winning the Cy Young.
Yeah, he's something else.
I mean, he's got some gross stuff. Harrison Bader out there controlling center field. I mean, he's defensively really good. If he can just figure out his offense a little bit. You get Wainwright, obviously, older guy, but he kind of figured it out last year or last year and a half. He's kind of learned how to pitch again without some of his high velocity. He gets beat up at times, but he really puts in some good outings, and especially at home.
Yeah,
He pitched really well. So I mean, you see him in the playoffs, big game pitcher.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he had some great pitching performances in the playoffs, and even down the stretch.
Can't take that out of him,
No, he's a big game pitcher. Him and Molina are like, they go hand in hand. So
Yeah.
it would have been weird to see Wainwright there without Molina, or Molina there without Wainwright.
Yeah, vice versa.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's that duo. They got some chemistry out there, and it's awesome to see. Tommy Edman, gonna be like a super utility guy for them. Really young, talented guy. And they signed a guy too, Kim Kwang Hein.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to say some of these guys' names. I always get stuck saying them. But you look at his spring training stats here. He's really putting up some good numbers.
Yeah, he's killing it.
And he was one of the higher pitchers over there. And if I had to say one thing, for the most part, the guys coming from overseas, the pitchers kind of fill their roles a little bit easier. The hitters kind of struggle a little bit, but the pitchers kind of come over and they do their thing. So if he can come in and really fill that rotation out, which is what they need, that's a big piece of the puzzle for them. Carlos Martinez, he can go either way. Bullpen, he was a closer last year. He was, good at times, struggled a little bit, but I mean, He's got some nasty stuff. You got a starter. He could be a starter and really pitch well. Jordan Hicks, he can come. He had Tommy John last year, so there's a chance you might not see him this year, but there's a chance you might see him late in the year, September. Playoff run. His guy throws like 104, 105. I mean, he's a flamethrower. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's just wham, man, 104 miles per hour. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So Alex Reyes, can he finally, break that curse he's under where he's hurt and bad things happening to him because he's got a lot of potential. Even out of the bullpen, another one. Miles Mikolas, I know he's kind of hurt right now, but he should be back. Might miss April, but he should be back. Another quality pitcher. John Gant out of the bullpen last year. I mean, he pitched really well.
Yeah, he's
one of their better, bullpen arms. Dakota Hudson, young pitcher. I mean, he's got some nasty stuff too. Walks are up a little bit, but if he can just get the walks down a little bit and keep the strikeouts up, he's got some real potential to really be a two-man in that rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah.
He's
quietly 25 home runs.
Yeah, I mean, he played really well.
Yeah.
He wasn't even a full-time starter last year.
I mean,
there's a guy. They always find talent. And he's going to step up this year. I think he's going to have a pretty good year out there.
Yeah.
Dante Ponce de Leon.
Mm-hmm.
He was up and down. Pretty good ups, and then he had some real lows there. But another pitcher with some potential, could do either way. Bullpen starter. Brett Cecil, hopefully he can get back at some point. It's been like a year. It's been like almost 2 years for him.
Yeah.
A lefty pitcher. Was a pretty good bullpen guy for Toronto there for a couple of years. So they can get him back. Really can help that bullpen. Andrew Miller, I know he's got some issues right now in spring training. He can't find the field for his pitches and not looking good. They were kind of shutting him down. I don't know if there's an injury there. They said there's not. But hopefully he can kind of get back because second half of last year he pitched well. Obviously, bullpen guy who's got some major stuff. And he's got some experience. Brebbia, out of the bullpen. He had a good year last year. So, I mean, a younger guy, so hopefully he can keep growing. Matt Wieters, backup catcher. I mean, obviously pinch hitter, switch hitter. Molina needs days off. Molina gets a little banged up, which never really happens. Never really wants to miss games, but Wieters could easily step in.
Oh, yeah.
And, be a quality player. I mean, they got pieces all over the place. I mean, it's just up and down the lineup. They got pieces. And then the pitching, bullpen, they got some names. And the rotation, they got some big names there. I mean, a couple of guys got to kind of hit their stride and kind of step up and be, fill their prospect role or fill their, potential. There's some pieces there to really be a high win team. I mean, I can easily see them 95 wins win that division, but I can also see them 85 wins and hitting the wild card.
Yeah.
But either way, the Cardinals are always in the hunt, and if they make the playoffs, they're a team. If they just get in by one game, by one run, any lucky, they'll run all the way. They can run all the way to the World Series and win it. They're just that franchise is just so built to just win and build within that. If you give them a chance and you keep the door open, they'll kick it down and run away with it. And that's a team. That's why I like them.
Yeah,
I like the franchise because they're so easy to root for. The fan base is arguably the best in all sports. They know the game. They respect everything about the game. It's a great stadium. Can't wait to get out there sometime. It's an exciting team and really the way it should be. Mm-hmm. A way the team a franchise should be ran. I really hope they have a good year. I think they will. And it's a team I kind of root for. It's probably one of my higher teams, and possibly even my favorite team out in the NL. Yeah, I really like them.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals a lot too. I always kind of have, and maybe it's just because we live kind of in the American League with the Yankees, so the kind of National League teams are kind of like off our radar. So so the Cardinals are always that team on the opposite side of the MLB that I always kind of liked over there. And I mean, there's a lot to like with this team. Like you talked about with some of these guys, Colton Wong and Matt Carpenter, if they're right, they're tremendous. Paul Goldschmidt's unbelievable. He's one of the better players in the league. Like you said, he had a little rough year for him last year, but I think that's kind of attributed more to a slower start that he had.
Yeah. New team, new team, new lineup. I mean, he's been with Arizona. He was there for Arizona for a long time. Yeah. So I mean, but the Cardinals did lose Ozuna.
Yeah, that hurts a little bit.
That was that hurts. He's a big piece there, but I mean, you got Tyler O'Neill and Tommy Edmonds, so they got some pieces that should be able to fill that hole. But
I think the outfield will be just fine. Yeah. Without him, not that Marcell Ozuna doesn't help.
No, because I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, I like him a lot too.
I'll never forget that ball he hit at Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
They hit the banners.
Yeah.
That was one of the farthest balls I ever seen hit, if not the farthest. I mean, they hit that banner. I think it was still going up.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's got some brute strength, and he's a warrior. He played through that shoulder injury 2 years ago, but he's a really good player. Still young. Got some really good talent. Last year, before the year, I think I really had him picked to hit lead the league in home runs.
Wouldn't have surprised me in the slightest.
He had some injuries, and he still had a lot of home runs, but he had some injuries and some issues going on. But really, really good player.
Yeah.
This Cardinals team's got some real good talent and a lot of guys that you kind of root for.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I think that outfield will be just fine without him. I think that behind the plate, you got Yachty. He's a constant. You know what you're getting out of him.
Yeah,
He's a
doubt.
leader.
Yeah.
The rotation's really good. Jack Flaherty at the top. He's a young guy. He's really got some good stuff. Carlos Martinez, he's a guy wherever you need him. He'll probably be dominant in the rotation, or he'll be dominant in the bullpen. He's a guy who can throw hard and really eat up some innings, or he can be shut down in the bullpen.
Definitely.
Dakota Hudson's nice to watch. He's going to be really, really good, I think. Adam Wainwright, veteran guy. I mean, what is there to say about Adam Wainwright? He's been around for a while, and he's another constant there, like you said with Yadier Molina. It's hard to imagine the Cardinals without both of them or either of them.
Yeah.
Kwang Hyun Kim. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but I think that he's been having a killer spring training, and he's going to be exciting. I mean, you always take spring training stats with a grain of salt, but he's now someone to what he's someone that's on my radar at least now with those stats.
And like we said before, if the Cardinals are interested in you, there's a reason.
Yeah, especially with pitching.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's similar to like the A's or the Rays, where they're like, if that team's interested in them, there got to be something, because those teams always find a way to get the most talent out of the majority of their players. So let's see what that guy. That guy could be really could be exciting and really could be take this Cardinals team to the next level. If he turns into the pitcher he could be, and then you have Flaherty, this guy, then Wainwright and Dakota Hudson. I mean, Carlos Martinez. I mean, this team is. This could be gross. Carlos Martinez was an ace.
Oh yeah.
I think Jack Flaherty, who was. I mean, last year's second half was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think he could have easily took this NL Cy Young. And I think if I had a vote, I think I might have voted for him. I mean, he was that good and put that Cardinals team really on his back. Took him to the NLCS.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they ran. Last year they ran into the buzzsaw that was the Nationals. I mean, the Nationals were just that hot team. It just is what it is. Yeah, I mean, the guy that I'm going to be watching that could make this team kind of put them on another level is I know it's kind of weird to say because he was one of the best relievers, but Andrew Miller, like you were telling me before we started recording, they're reporting that he kind of lost the feel. If that makes any sense, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
He's almost, it feels off for him.
Yeah, and he's a big guy, had some mechanic problems over his career, but he can't get the feel for his pitches. You don't feel like, he's not getting that, fastball out of his hands, not feeling right, his slider. They say he's off. They're sitting and letting him rest a little bit. They don't say, he says he's not wrong.
Yeah.
No strains, no injuries, no pain anywhere. The team said he looks fine, there's no pain or no problems with him. It's just he can't get the feel, which is weird.
It is weird.
I hope he's not getting the yips or something, turning to Rick Ankiel and start whipping the ball over the backstop and whatnot. But
yeah, it'd be a shame too because I actually he was a Yankee, so I got a little bit of a.
And not just being a Yankee. I mean, you've been one of the best relievers in baseball for a long time.
Yeah, we got to see him firsthand with the Yankees. I mean, he was tremendous with us, and then he's been just about tremendous everywhere he went.
Yeah, last year he started a little slow, not slow. He still had he was sitting around 4. Which is a little high for a reliever, obviously. But then second half, he really dropped that ERA, really started pitching better. So you hope, he can kind of get back feeling good, and because he could put him anywhere. Closer, 1 out, well, not 1 out anymore, but, closer, it's a big situation in the 4th inning or something, or, you could pitch him a setup, you could pitch him 2 innings, you could pitch him whatever. He don't care.
Yeah,
He's one of them utility relievers that's kind of becoming a newer thing.
Yeah, like a super reliever,
Well, not really a newer thing. It's almost an older thing.
Yeah.
But coming back. So he's kind of fills that role, and he's really a good veteran pitcher. So let's hopefully he can kind of figure it out and get back to being, the best that he can be.
Yeah, and when he's right, he's another guy like we talk about with Craig Kimbrell and these guys that, if they really put it together, I mean, watch out. They got wicked stuff. So I think that having him in the bullpen be as good as he could be, or at least even he doesn't have to have a 1 ERA or anything, but if he can put up a lower ERA and be consistent out of that bullpen, I mean, this team really watch out for their pitching,
Yeah,
so
and Hicks can come back this year at some point.
Yeah,
I mean, he throws so hard. You get him back and add to that bullpen. I mean, There's some pieces out there. There's some question marks, but there's some pieces that could really turn this team into a really good team in a division that can go to any, for almost anyone. So, I mean, a division that's no one real powerhouse, they could beat up a couple of these teams and really run, up high, 95 wins or so. Or they can sit there around 85 and win a division with 85 wins, or win a wild card with 85 or 86 wins. But I could easily see them in the 90 plus wins.
Yeah, I feel the same way about them that I feel about the Reds. That I think this is either of those teams' division to win. And if one of them don't win, I think that the other team's probably going to get the wild card. At least that's how I see it. These teams, I like both of these teams a lot, and there's it for obvious reason.
Yeah, and I always like to go into the prospects, especially a team like this who always has 1,000 of them. Even if they're not the top prospects, they always come up and play well. You got guys like Dylan Carlson, who will be up at some point this year. I mean, that guy's unbelievable. He's having a great spring.
Yeah,
he's tearing the cover off the ball. He's another outfielder. So I think he's going to settle into the outfield. You might see him around late April, maybe May. He's going to settle in. I think he's going to put up some monster numbers. He's going to put up some monster numbers and really be in the middle of the order with Goldschmidt and some of these guys. The guys like Mike Libertor.
Yeah.
Big lefty. He's got that big curveball. He's got some really nasty stuff. He's going to be he'll be up this year at some point. So you can fill a need anywhere, rotation, bullpen, whenever you need him to. Zach Thompson, another pitching prospect. Nolan Gorman, third baseman. I don't think you'll see him this year because of the roster they have, but you never know. Then they got Andrew Knizner as a catcher. So with Molina kind of getting older, and Wieters, your backup, he's an older player. Having a catcher like him, who I think really could probably be up at this year, probably could be up. That's good. That's good that Molina's kind of, you got that next guy you think it could step up and fill that catcher role. Because sometimes when you lose a guy like that, it takes a long time for you to find that next real good catcher or find that real good position player. I mean, you see it with the Mets with Piazza, or you've seen it with the Yankees at times throughout their whole history. You've seen it with a bunch of teams. They lose that catcher. It's hard to kind of find, or not just catcher, but catcher is one of the most important positions in all sports. He kind of runs the pitching staff, and he's always expected to hit some home runs and be a big piece in the lineup. And they get beat up obviously the most. They're unbelievably tough guys.
Oh yeah.
So having a guy like that, a young guy kind of ready to go, is big for the Cardinals, and it can be a trade piece.
Yeah.
This is a team here that I could see them easily trading some of this outfield surplus and some of these prospects and going to get a superstar, Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
I thought they were getting Donaldson. I thought it was hands down, boom, they're getting Donaldson. And I thought last year at the deadline, I was like, they're getting Bumgarner. I could just easily see Bumgarner sitting in a Cardinals uniform.
Yeah.
And the way his postseason, career, and Jack Flaherty going the way he is, and Wainwright, oh man, they could have did something. Yeah. I really thought he was going there, but they could make a move this year for a pitcher. I really think Arenado could be a big piece for them. They can go get a starting pitcher. I'll be a little surprised to see that, but I think they can go get a reliever. We've talked about a bunch of relievers already, but they can easily go get a big-time reliever to really put in that bullpen and really solidify it, especially if Andrew Miller struggles and Jordan Hicks, gets delayed with his injury a little bit because he's already Tommy John, so you're not going to really see him until maybe August at the earliest. So he gets delayed a little bit. He's already into the postseason, so they could easily go make a run for a big bullpen guy, maybe even Kirby Yates if the Padres kind of struggle out there.
Yeah.
There's guys out there that they could really make a push for, and this team is exciting. And these last two teams we just talked about in this division are exciting. Yeah. And really going to make you want to stay and watch this division, especially with the Brewers and Cubs kind of having their question marks. Could be really good or struggle. You really don't know what you're going to get out of this division. So it's exciting. It's an exciting team, and like I said, these prospects, they got 4 out of the top 100. They always build depth, and they're just the way you should build a franchise. So you should kind of build your franchise off the Cardinals, the St. Louis method or the Cardinals method. It's just it's always been that way. It always has been, and it always will be, and they're always going to have a competitive team. Yeah. And if they're not in the playoffs, or they're not good for a year or two, it's really almost surprising. Our whole lives, the Cardinals have been pretty good. There's been maybe a handful of years.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe, maybe 3, maybe 4, 5 at the most, maybe.
Yeah, they're always there.
They're always, and if they miss the playoffs, they're 1, 2 games. They're right there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always good. We've seen them win the World Series a couple times. We've seen them in the World Series other times. 2011, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that Game 6 was, I think, probably the greatest baseball game I ever watched.
Yeah, one of the great World Series, 2011.
Yeah, so, I mean, can't count them out.
No.
They're always in a game. If the game's not over, they got a shot. And it's crazy. And it's every year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just that year or this year. It's every year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. A fan of theirs. I am. I'm really a fan of the Cardinals.
Yeah, me too.
And I do like the Reds. So it's a division that I kind of keep an eye on. I kept an eye on it last year. Kind of root for a couple of these teams and some of these players. So.
Yeah, I think that this division is going to come right down to game 162. I mean, both these teams are really competitive. They're built to win. I go back and forth between the Cardinals and the Reds. Who's going to win? I like the excitement of the Reds coming up and coming, but the Cardinals, that's that mainstay in the NL. That just never seem to go away. Never seem to get into that rebuilding mode. They're just always there, and they're always waiting in the wing to make some sort of playoff run, big playoff push. And like I said, if they ran into the buzzsaw of the Nationals last year, that just every team ran into them, and kind of they were the unexpected team. But who knows what would have happened if the Nationals weren't that hot team. They could have seen them in the World Series.
And that home field advantage they got in St. Louis. I mean, that stadium is just beautiful with the arch, and I mean, it's such a great fan base, and they really pack it in over there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a crazy NL Central. That's for sure. We could see a couple teams break it down and trade away pieces. There's some teams, or you could see 4 teams in the hunt trading for pieces and trying to get better, or you could see really. I think 2 teams that could easily tear it down. Maybe even a third team. You might see 3 teams kind of trading some guys away a little bit. But I easily could see 4 teams making moves and trying to win that division and make a playoff push. But I think these last 2 teams we talked about really are the cream of crop in this division.
I agree.
And could really be exciting teams to see. I think could definitely push to the NLCS and sneak their way into the World Series possibly because there's some talent on these teams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all I've got for the Central. You have any final notes, closing thoughts?
I mean, I think we said it all. I think we pretty much said everything.
Yeah. All right, that's it for the NL Central. I mean, really good division. I think that there's going to be a lot of competition towards the end of the season, and it's definitely a division to watch. So, we've only got one more division left that we'll be covering next week, and we'll be wrapping up all the divisions with the NL West. I think kind of, I wouldn't say obvious, but you've got really good team out there in the West, the Dodgers, and been good for a while now.
With the chip on their shoulder for obvious reasons.
Oh yeah, I mean they are a team that can't get over that hump. How many chances are you gonna get in the World Series, man? I mean, but great team.
I think they might. This team's good this year for the Dodgers, but
oh man,
at some point you miss your window or your chance.
Yeah.
And how many times are they going to keep getting a chance? So.
Yeah.
But they do have a chip on their shoulder from the the Astros scandal and some other issues, but they did make a big move for Mookie Betts. But division's kind of lacking behind. You got a team like the Padres kind of coming up, but there should be something to talk about for that division, though. There's definitely a lot of there's definitely some potential out there, and there's definitely a lot of pieces out there that can get moved who can sway this whole season or the next couple seasons. Guys like Arenado or pieces like that can get moved at the deadline and really make this whole season change the whole thing. So that's definitely got some excitement in that division. It might not be all for the competitiveness, but that's a division to keep an eye on because a couple wins here or there, and you trade one of your better players away, and you could rock baseball for that season and shake up the standings.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an exciting division. Can't wait to talk about them and get through our old divisions and then get to that final prediction episode where we can really dive into some of our numbers.
Yeah.
And kind of get the season started here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Getting
close.
Warmer weather. You're starting to see some of these pitchers going 4 or 5 innings.
Yeah.
You're just excited to get into baseball and kind of get some of these off-season news and bad stories and all that stuff kind of out of the way and just get to just playing the game of baseball, which is just awesome. It's just such a great sport, and it's so fun to watch. And it's America's pastime. I don't care what anyone says.
Mm-hmm.
Every kid picks up a bat at some point and swings it at a ball. Mm-hmm. Hits off a tee or soft toss. I don't care if you never play baseball in your life. You always have a bat and a ball.
Yeah.
So something about it.
Yeah. I mean, Over here in New Jersey, it was in the 70s today. I mean, baseball weather we're feeling like here, so it's getting real close, and I'm excited.
You give me high 40s and no wind, and a little sun. It's baseball weather to me. But you get in the 70s. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's perfect baseball weather.
Perfect.
The only thing we were missing today was the grass being real green.
Yeah.
And we're only a week away from really seeing the grass turn over and seeing baseball. There's only 2 seasons. There's winter, and then there's baseball season.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, I think that wraps up the NL Central episode nicely into a nice little bow here. So look out for episode 6 next week on the NL West. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre, and you can follow me on Instagram at MikeLepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
Give us a follow on Twitter at ScrewballPod, and follow our official Facebook, Screwball Pod, no E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. So we'll see you next week.
Take care.